It began on an ordinary evening, the kind of quiet night when the world seems to pause between breaths. The sky outside had dimmed to a soft violet, and the air carried the faint promise of rain. Yet something deeper seemed to hover in the atmosphere, as if the boundary between the visible and the invisible had thinned. In that stillness, a vision formed, not a dream, not a daydream, but something that rose from a deeper plane, forcing its presence into awareness with a gentle but undeniable insistence. At first, it appeared as a distant shimmer, like a mirage lifting itself from the horizon. The shimmer grew brighter over time, shaping itself into a vast landscape suspended between worlds. The land stretched endlessly, glowing with a soft radiance that pulsed like a heartbeat. Nothing about it resembled the world we know. Its light shifted with a rhythm that felt alive. Its mountains breathed a faint, golden mist. Even the rivers appeared conscious, flowing with purpose rather than gravity. The vision didn't speak with words, yet it conveyed a message as clear as speech. Something is ending, and something new is preparing to unfold. It wasn't a warning of destruction, but an invitation to transformation, a signal that the familiar structures of life, our habits, our fears, our assumptions, were approaching a threshold. Beyond that threshold waited a new kind of existence, vast and luminous, shaped not by what had been, but by what could emerge when courage and hope worked together. As the vision deepened, the viewer felt a subtle pull, as though being drawn closer to a truth long forgotten. This was not simply a glimpse into another world. It was a reminder that such worlds live within us already. The shimmer brightened, and the journey began. The luminous landscape faded, leaving behind the unmistakable weight of the current world. Streets remained crowded, screens stayed bright, and the noise of everyday living rushed back in. But everything looked slightly different now, as if the vision had peeled away a layer and revealed the fractures that had always been there. Buildings stood tall but felt brittle. Conversations sounded hollow. People moved with a hurried rhythm that didn't match the depths of their own hearts. It became clear that the world wasn't crumbling in the dramatic sense people often imagine, no falling towers or broken skies, but in the subtle ways that exhaustion, division, and disconnection slowly erode the foundations of a society. The cracks were emotional, spiritual, even existential. People longed for meaning but chased distractions. They wanted connection yet feared vulnerability. They sought peace but carried storms inside their minds. The more closely one looked, the more obvious it became that the old way of living built on speed, competition, and self-preservation was reaching its limit. What once felt like progress now felt like noise. What once seemed certain now seemed temporary. Even the strongest structures, whether made of steel or belief, appeared to sway under the pressure of accumulating contradictions. And yet, beneath the unease, something else stirred. An undercurrent of yearning threaded through every crack in the world. It whispered in quiet moments and echoed in the tired spaces behind people's eyes. There must be something more, something clearer, something truer. The vision of the radiant world lingered like an afterimage, contrasting sharply with the weariness of the present. That contrast didn't condemn the world, it illuminated it. It became clear that the crumbling wasn't a final collapse but a necessary release, clearing space for what was ready to emerge. The old was loosening its grip, the new was waiting to rise. The days following the vision felt charged with new meaning. Ordinary routines carried an unfamiliar energy, as if every moment, no matter how small, held the potential to shift the future in subtle but significant ways. It wasn't just an internal sensation. Conversations with others revealed the same quiet hunger. People spoke more openly about their worries, their hopes, their uncertainties. Many sensed a collective turning, though few could articulate it clearly. It soon became apparent that the world wasn't simply changing, it was inviting change. The invitation didn't arrive through grand declarations or booming voices from the sky. It came through gentle nudges, a sudden realization, a moment of clarity, a fleeting sense of direction that appeared when least expected. It whispered that transformation doesn't begin with governments or institutions, it begins with individuals rediscovering their own inner landscapes. The call urged people to look honestly at their lives, and ask difficult questions. Which habits numb rather than nourish? Which fears keep the heart small? Which dreams have been buried under layers of caution or cynicism? And perhaps most importantly, what possibilities might awaken if those internal barriers finally dissolved? The call wasn't about perfection. It was about courage. It recognized human fragility but refused to let that fragility become an excuse for stagnation. Instead, it encouraged a new kind of bravery, one that moves gently, listens deeply, and chooses growth even when the path ahead is unclear. As more people tuned into that subtle call, small changes began to ripple outward. Conversations gained depth, acts of kindness increased, people paused more often and questioned more thoughtfully. Transformation didn't arrive all at once, but its foundation was being built quietly in countless hearts. Something in the air had shifted, preparing the way for what the vision had promised. One evening, the same shimmer that had appeared in the first vision returned not as a distant mirage this time, but as a doorway forming in the space between thought and emotion. It opened like a curtain of light, inviting whoever sensed it to step forward. The invitation wasn't physical, it was internal, urging the heart to cross its own horizon. The journey began by acknowledging that the horizon we see with our eyes is not the true boundary. The real boundary lies in the stories we tell ourselves, what we believe we can or cannot become, what we assume life can or cannot offer. Stepping beyond the horizon meant loosening those stories, allowing them to expand rather than confine. With each inward step, the environment shifted. Familiar fears appeared like shadows, attempting to pull the traveler back. Old doubts whispered warnings, urging caution. But the light from the doorway illuminated a path forward, soft, steady, and unwavering. The traveler realized that fear doesn't disappear on this journey. Instead, it loses its authority. As the path unfolded, landscapes unlike any earthly terrain emerged. Fields of light swayed like grass in a gentle wind. Rivers sparkled with memory, reflecting not just the sky but the truth of one's own past, showing it without distortion or shame. Mountains rose in the distance, each peak symbolizing a long-forgotten strength waiting to be reclaimed. The journey was both awe-inspiring and humbling. It revealed how vast the inner world truly is and how much of it remains unexplored. This wasn't an escape from reality, it was a preparation for returning to it with new eyes. Beyond the horizon lay not a destination but a transformation, a shift that would reshape the meaning of home, self, and future. At the far edge of the luminous landscape, where the hills met a horizon of shimmering gold, figures began to appear. They weren't intimidating, nor were they grand in stature. Instead, they radiated a calm presence that felt both ancient and familiar, as if they embodied wisdom collected over countless lifetimes. Their forms were graceful, shaped from light rather than matter, and their expressions held the quiet confidence of those who understand without needing to explain. The guardians did not speak in words, yet their communication was unmistakable. They conveyed that every traveler who reaches this realm carries the seeds of renewal within them, even when unaware. Their role was not to instruct, but to remind, to help people remember the strengths they had buried under years of struggle and self-doubt. As the traveler approached, one guardian stepped forward, offering a gentle exchange of insight. It wasn't a revelation delivered from a higher authority, but a reflection that stirred the heart, revealing truths long suppressed. The guardian helped the traveler see how much of life's pain had come not from weakness, but from forgetting one's inherent capacity for resilience, compassion, and growth. The guardians also showed glimpses of humanity's shared threads, how individuals who feel isolated are often connected by the same hopes, wounds, and dreams. They revealed that transformation is rarely solitary. It ripples outward, touching others in unseen ways. Above all, the guardians emphasized that the new world glimpsed in the vision was not a distant promise, but a possibility that begins with choices made here and now. They encouraged the traveler to carry the light of this realm back to the waking world, not as a burden, but as a beacon. With gratitude, the traveler stepped away, preparing to continue toward the heart of the luminous land, toward the place where the new heaven and new earth converged. The path soon descended into a valley where the vibrant light dimmed into muted shades. The air grew cooler, denser, and filled with a stillness that felt heavy but necessary. This was the Valley of Shadows, a place every traveler must cross before reaching the realm of transformation. It wasn't a punishment but a mirror, reflecting the parts of oneself that had been avoided or denied. Shapes formed in the mist, memories long buried, insecurities never spoken aloud, regrets that lingered like unfinished echoes. They didn't attack, nor were they sent to frighten. They simply existed, waiting to be acknowledged. The traveler realized that this valley wasn't about fear, it was about honesty. One cannot build a new world while dragging the weight of unhealed shadows. As the traveler moved deeper into the valley, moments from the past resurfaced. Times when courage faltered, when kindness was withheld, when choices were made out of fear instead of possibility. These memories carried a sting, yet they also brought clarity. They showed how every shadow hides a lesson and how every wound contains the seed of wisdom. The traveler paused, letting the shadows surround them, not to overwhelm but to understand. And something remarkable happened. The shadows softened. They began to dissolve, shedding their heaviness like mist under morning light. They were never meant to imprison, they were meant to be integrated. Crossing the valley taught that renewal doesn't mean erasing the past, it means transforming one's relationship to it. Only by honoring the shadows can one fully embrace the light that awaits beyond. With each step the traveler took, the valley brightened, preparing to open into the next realm, a place of awakened possibilities. Emerging from the valley, the traveler found themselves standing before a breathtaking city made entirely of light. It rose from the ground like a living sculpture, its towers curving gracefully as though shaped by wind and intention rather than stone. The city pulsed with warm radiance, echoing the heartbeat of life itself. It felt both futuristic and ancient, familiar and yet unlike anything seen before. As the traveler entered, they sensed that this city wasn't a physical location, but a symbol of human potential. The streets shimmered with pathways of insight, and the buildings reflected qualities rather than materials, structures of courage, foundations of empathy, windows made from clarity and purpose. Everything in this city embodied renewal. People moved through the city with unhurried peace. Their faces reflected a quiet strength, not because they were free from challenges, but because they had learned to meet those challenges with open hearts. They were individuals who had crossed their own valleys of shadows, faced their own doubts, and chosen transformation rather than resignation. In the city's central plaza, a fountain flowed with luminous water that represented collective hope. It rippled gently, carrying the stories of countless travelers who had passed through this realm, each contributing their own spark of growth. Watching the water, the traveler understood that renewal isn't a solitary pursuit. It is built on the shared evolution of many lives intertwined. The city of renewal offered a powerful reminder. The future is not predetermined. It is shaped by the choices made now, the choice to heal, to connect, to imagine boldly, and to rise above the limitations inherited from the past. Standing there, the traveler felt a rising certainty that humanity is capable of far more than it realizes. The journey pressed onward, toward the revelation at the city's heart. At the highest point of the city stood a platform overlooking a vast expanse of shimmering terrain. As the traveler approached, the horizon began to brighten with an emerging glow, a dawn unlike any seen before. It expanded slowly, not in the harsh burst of sudden sunlight, but with the gentle unfolding of something sacred and inevitable. The light revealed a world transformed. Mountains glowed with inner fire, valleys breathed with fertile promise, and oceans sparkled with renewed vitality. It was Earth, yet it wasn't the Earth of old patterns and worn-out narratives. It was a vision of what Earth could become when human hearts awakened to their highest potential. This new Earth wasn't built from new continents or new skies. It was built from new consciousness. Here, people valued presence over haste, connection over competition, curiosity over fear. Communities thrived not because they eliminated struggle, but because they faced struggle with unity and creativity. The land itself responded to this harmony, flourishing with life that reflected the collective spirit of its inhabitants. The traveler realized that the dawn of the new earth wasn't a future prophecy. It was a possibility waiting at the edge of every choice, every intention, every moment of compassion. Its emergence depended not on external miracles, but on internal awakenings. The horizon brightened further, revealing that this new earth is not separate from the current one. It exists in the same space, shaped by different decisions. The dawn served as an invitation to imagine boldly, to act with purpose, and to contribute to a world where renewal is not a distant hope, but an everyday practice. Filled with awe, the traveler felt the dawn's warmth settle into their heart, preparing them for the revelation to come. As the dawn's glow settled into clarity, a profound understanding rose within the traveler. They realized that every step of the journey, from the first shimmering vision to the valley of shadows to the city of renewal, had been guiding them toward this moment. The luminous world wasn't just a symbol of what awaited humanity, it was a reflection of the potential that already resides within each person. The revelation arrived not as a thunderous decree, but as a gentle unfolding of truth. Purpose is not something imposed from outside. It isn't a single, rigid destiny. Instead, purpose grows from the heart's willingness to align with its deepest values and act on them consistently. It is discovered through curiosity, nourished through courage, and strengthened through compassion. The traveler saw with new eyes how purpose reveals itself through ordinary actions, a conversation spoken with sincerity, a decision made with integrity, a gesture of kindness that ripples outward, farther than anyone can measure. Even small moments become sacred when offered with intention. Purpose is less about finding the right path, and more about walking with awareness, presence, and openness. The revelation also made clear that purpose is not solitary. Each person's purpose interweaves with others, creating a tapestry of shared evolution. When one person chooses growth, it encourages another. When one heals, it creates space for others to do the same. Purpose is collective as much as it is personal. Filled with this clarity, the traveler understood that the journey had not been about gaining knowledge, but about awakening to possibility. The new heaven and new earth were not destinations, they were states of being, accessible whenever purpose aligns with hope, authenticity, and love. With purpose illuminated, the traveler felt the luminous realm begin to soften around them, preparing to dissolve. The shimmering landscapes, the radiant city, the guardians, and the dawn all blended into a single, warm light that gently folded inward like a closing blossom. It wasn't an ending, it was a returning, carrying everything learned back into the world that needed it most. When the traveler opened their eyes, they found themselves once again in the familiar surroundings of ordinary life. But nothing felt ordinary anymore. The same streets, the same people, the same responsibilities now pulsed with hidden depth. The cracks in the world no longer looked like signs of collapse. They resembled openings where light could seep through. The traveler recognized that renewal is not an otherworldly miracle, but a daily choice. Each morning becomes a dawn. Every challenge becomes a valley to move through with courage. Every person becomes a companion on a shared journey toward a more compassionate world. The new heaven and new earth begin wherever someone chooses empathy over judgment, curiosity over fear, and hope over resignation. With this renewed perspective, the traveler walked forward, carrying the quiet certainty that transformation is always possible. The world may shift slowly, sometimes imperceptibly, but it shifts nonetheless through the steady actions of those who believe in its potential. And so the journey concludes not with a farewell, but with an invitation to step into daily life with the heart awakened, the mind cleared, and the spirit ready to build a world where renewal is not a distant dream but a lived reality. In this way, every person becomes a creator of the new heaven and the new earth, shaping a future radiant with promise.